Amari Nellie didn't cry when the landlord banged on the door for the third time that week. She didn't cry when her phone screen flashed low storage and low balance like life was mocking her. She didn't cry when her mother's voice came through the line tired and worried, asking, "Amari, are you eating?" But she cried that evening when she saw him again, Kellen Say, standing across the street from the small design studio where she worked, looking like a memory that refused to die. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Kellen hadn't changed much. Still tall, still quiet in the way that made people lean in to hear him. Still with that calm face that never matched the storms he carried inside. The only difference was the suit, clean, expensive, and the car parked behind him that screamed, "I made it." Amari's fingers tightened around the strap of her tote bag. Her chest felt tight. Her feet felt glued to the ground. He noticed her. His eyes widened slightly, like he couldn't believe she was real. Then he started walking toward her. Amari turned and went inside before he could reach her. The studio smelled of paper, ink, and coffee that had been reheated too many times. Her boss, a blunt woman named Sefa, looked up from her laptop. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." Amari forced a smile. "I'm fine." Sefa's eyes narrowed. "That man outside, he's staring like he wants to apologize with his whole body." Amari swallowed. "He doesn't get to." As if the universe wanted to test her, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She didn't answer. It rang again. She pressed decline. It rang a third time, and her hands began to shake. Sefa leaned back in her chair. "Amari, I don't know your story. But if that man broke you, don't let him rewrite the ending without your permission." Amari nodded, even though her throat burned. Later that night, in her tiny apartment, the past came back in full color. Not the soft kind. The violent kind. 3 years ago, Amari had been the happiest person she knew. She and Kellen were the kind of couple people secretly hated, because they looked too certain. He was a struggling architect with dreams bigger than his pocket. She was a creative assistant who stayed up late working on designs for other people's brands while building her own portfolio quietly. They didn't have much, but they had laughter, midnight noodles, and the type of love that made the world feel less heavy. Then Kellen got a call that changed everything. A major firm wanted him. Not just an interview, an offer. A fast track. A future. The kind of opportunity that doesn't knock twice. Amari remembered the night he told her. He had grabbed her hands, eyes bright. "This is it, Mari. This is the door." She had smiled so wide her cheeks hurt. "Then we walked through it together." But together became complicated when Kellen's mother, a sharp woman named Ilira, stepped in like a wall. "You're not ready for that world," Ilira had told Amari, looking her up and down like she was measuring her worth. "My son will be around important people. You will distract him." Amari had tried to stay respectful. "Ma, I love him. I want him to succeed." Ilira's voice had been cold. "Love doesn't pay for suits. Love doesn't buy connections. Love doesn't protect a man in rooms full of wolves." Kellen had argued at first. "Stop it. Amari is not the problem. But pressure is a quiet poison. It doesn't kill you loudly. It kills you slowly." Kellen's new world demanded long hours, long meetings, long silences. His phone calls became shorter. His visits became rare. His eyes started looking tired even when he smiled. Then one evening, he came to Amari's apartment and sat on her couch like he didn't belong there anymore. Amari had known something was wrong by the way he wouldn't look at her. "Kellen," she whispered. "Say it." He swallowed hard. "I need space." Amari blinked. "Space for what? You're building a life. I'm here. I'm not stopping you." He stared at the floor. "You don't understand." Amari's voice cracked. "Then help me understand." Kellen's face twisted in pain. "My mother is right. The pressure is too much. Everything is moving fast. I can't carry you and carry this." The words hit like a slap. "Carry you." As if she was a burden. As if her love was weight. Amari stood up slowly. "So, you're leaving." Kellen's eyes were wet. "For now." "For now," she repeated, a bitter laugh pushing through her tears. "Kellen, don't break me with for now. If you're going, go. Don't leave the door half open, so I keep bleeding in the doorway." He stood too. His hands reached for her, then stopped in the air like he was afraid to touch her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Amari's heart shattered with how genuine his voice sounded. Sorry doesn't heal this. He left that night. And Amari learned what heartbreak truly meant, not loud drama, not shouting. Just empty rooms, silent phones, and the weight of missing someone who chose a world without you. Now, years later, he was back. Her phone buzzed again. A message. Unknown number. Kellen, Mari. Please. I just want to talk. 5 minutes. Amari stared at the screen until her eyes blurred. Then she typed. Amari, you don't get 5 minutes. You took 3 years. A moment later, another message came. Kellen, I know. I deserve that. But I need you to hear something, even if you hate me after. She didn't reply. She threw the phone on the couch and pressed her palms against her eyes. Her chest felt like it was caving in. The next day, Kellen came again. This time, he walked inside the studio. Sefa looked up like she was ready to fight. Can I help you? Kellen's gaze fixed on Amari. I'm here for her. Amari stood, posture stiff. Say what you came to say. Kellen's face tightened. Not here. Please. Amari crossed her arms. No secrets. No romance. No drama. Say it. The studio went quiet. Kellen nodded slowly, accepting the boundary. He took a breath that looked painful. I didn't just leave because I wanted to. I left because I was convinced you'd drown with me. Amari's laugh was sharp. You mean you believed I was weak? No, he said quickly. I believed I was weak. And I let people convince me that love had to be sacrificed for success. Sefa made a small sound and turned back to her laptop, pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. Kellen continued, voice low. That firm I joined, it wasn't what it looked like. It was toxic. They owned people. They threatened contracts. They punished loyalty. And my mother, she was proud because she thought it meant I'd become untouchable. Amari's eyes narrowed. So what? You came to tell me work was hard. Kellen flinched. No. I came to tell you that the reason I disappeared completely is because something happened. Something I couldn't bring to your door. Amari's throat went tight. What happened? He looked at her like he was begging her to be gentle. I got sick. The words didn't land right away. Amari blinked. Sick how? Kellen's jaw clenched. Heart condition. Stress triggered. It got bad. I had surgery. He stopped, swallowing. I almost didn't make it. Amari felt dizzy. Her anger wobbled, not disappearing, but shifting. And you didn't tell me, she said, voice shaking. Kellen's eyes filled. I didn't want you to watch me fall apart. I didn't want you trapped in hospitals with me, missing your own life because of my mess. Amari's voice rose. So you decided for me. I know, he whispered. That was wrong. Amari stared at him, breathing hard. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to slap him and hold him at the same time. Her heart was confused, but her pride wasn't. So why now? She asked. Why show up after all this time? Kellen took a step closer. Because I'm leaving the country in 2 weeks. Amari froze. What? I'm starting a new firm, he said. My own. Away from the people who controlled me. I'm going to rebuild. But before I go, I couldn't leave without telling you the truth. Amari's nails dug into her palm. And what do you want from me, Kellen? He swallowed. Nothing you don't choose to give. Not forgiveness. Not love. Not even kindness. His voice cracked. I just needed you to know you were never the burden. You were the only thing that felt real. And I ruined it. Amari's eyes stung. She turned away quickly, staring at a wall poster of a bright, confident brand campaign. Something she had designed for a client who would never know how broken the designer behind it had once been. Kellen's voice came again, softer. Mari, if you tell me to go, I will. But if there's even a small part of you that wants closure, meet me tomorrow. 1 hour. Cafe on Bryan Street. The one with the blue doors. Please. Amari didn't answer. Kellen nodded like he understood. Then he left, and the studio felt too small for Amari's breathing. That night, Amari lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her heart replayed the past, then replayed his trembling voice. I got sick. I almost didn't make it. She hated him for leaving. She hated herself for still feeling anything at all. And somewhere between the anger and the old love, a question rose like a whisper. What if the story didn't end where it broke? Amari went to the cafe the next day, not because she missed Kellen, but because her heart was tired of carrying unanswered questions like stones. The cafe on Bryan Street still had the same blue doors, the same soft music, and the smell of cinnamon that made you think of home even when you didn't have one. Kellen was already there, seated by the window, hands wrapped around a cup he hadn't touched. When he saw her, he stood so fast the chair scraped. Amari didn't sit immediately. 1 hour, she said. No games. Kellen nodded. 1 hour. She sat across from him, posture firm, eyes sharp. Start talking. Kellen exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath since the day he left. After I left you, I threw myself into work. I thought if I built something big enough, it would fill the hole. But the hole wasn't the problem. The problem was I kept hearing your voice in my head, and I kept choosing silence. Amari's jaw tightened. You chose silence when you could have chosen honesty. Yes, he admitted. And I paid for it. He pulled a thin folder from his bag and slid it across the table. Amari frowned. What's that? My medical records, Kellen said quietly. Not to gain pity. Just proof. I know how it sounds. Amari hesitated, then opened it. Her stomach turned as she scanned dates, hospital stamps, clinical words that felt too cold for something so personal. Her voice dropped. You really went through this. Kellen's eyes were full. I did. And I deserved every lonely second of it. Amari closed the folder. Her anger softened around the edges, but it still lived inside her like a guarded animal. So why didn't you reach out after you recovered? She asked. Kellen stared out the window for a moment. Because I came to your studio once. A year after the surgery. I stood outside like a coward. I saw you through the glass, laughing with someone. You looked alive. And I realized my return might pull you back into pain. Amari's chest tightened. You saw me and still didn't speak. Kellen nodded, ashamed. I convinced myself you were better off. That I was a chapter you survived. Amari's voice was quiet now. You don't get to decide what I survive, Kellen. I know, he whispered. They sat in a heavy silence. Then Amari asked the question that had been burning the most. Did you ever love me, or was I just convenient? Kellen's head snapped up. Amari. Answer. Kellen's eyes shone. I loved you. I still do. And I hate myself for saying it because I know love isn't enough when you hurt someone. Amari's throat burned. She looked away, blinking fast. Kellen leaned forward slightly, voice careful. I didn't come to steal your peace. I came to return something I took. He reached into his pocket and placed a small silver ring on the table. Amari's breath caught. It was the promise ring he had given her years ago. Simple, engraved inside with one word. Always. I kept it, Kellen said. Not because I deserved it. Because I couldn't throw away the only thing that ever meant home. Amari stared at it like it was a weapon and a memory at the same time. I don't want it, she said, but her voice trembled. Kellen nodded. Then don't take it. But let it sit here as proof that I didn't forget you. Amari's eyes filled. Her voice came out sharp to protect her softness. You don't get to walk back into my life like an apology is a key. I'm not asking to walk in, Kellen said. I'm asking to stand outside the door and accept whatever you decide. The waitress came and asked what they wanted. Amari ordered tea. Kellen ordered nothing. When the waitress left, Amari leaned back. You said you're leaving in 2 weeks. Yes, he replied. To Luma City. New start. New firm. And you want me to what? Wish you well. Kellen's mouth twitched sadly. If that's all you can give, I'll take it. Amari's fingers tapped the table. I should hate you. Kellen nodded. You have every right. I do hate you, she said, voice cracking. For leaving me with nothing but questions. For letting your mother treat me like I was disposable. For making me feel like love was something you could pause. Kellen's eyes dropped. You're right. Amari's tears finally slipped, slow and unwilling. She wiped them quickly, annoyed at herself. But, she whispered, I also hate that a part of me understands fear. I hate that I know what it's like to feel like you're drowning and push away the hands trying to save you. Kellen looked up, hope flickering like a fragile flame. Amari. She held up a hand. Don't. Amari stood. Our hour is almost done. Kellen stood too, panic rising. Please, just tell me if I should stop trying. Tell me if there's no chance, and I'll respect it. Amari stared at him, the man who broke her, and still somehow looked like the boy who used to kiss her forehead and whisper, You're my peace. She took a breath. I don't know what I feel yet. Kellen's shoulders sagged, but he nodded. That's fair. Amari picked up the promise ring and placed it back in his palm. Keep it. Kellen's fingers curled around it like it was sacred. Amari's voice softened. You're leaving soon. If you want to make peace with the past, start by making peace with the person who helped break it. Kellen frowned slightly. My mother? Amari nodded. If you want any kind of future, any kind, you don't get to pretend she didn't poison what we had. Kellen swallowed. I'll talk to her. Amari turned to leave, then paused. And Kellen? Yes. She looked at him over her shoulder. Don't ask me to forgive you. Earn the kind of person I could forgive. Then she walked out, That night, Kellen went to his mother's house. Illyra opened the door and smiled proudly. "My son, you came." Kellen's face was calm, but his voice was firm. "We need to talk." Illyra's smile faded. "About what?" "About Amari," he said. "About the way you treated her. About the way I let you." Illyra scoffed. "That girl was not your level. I protected you." "You controlled me," Kellen replied. "And when I got sick, where were you?" Illyra stiffened. "I prayed." Kellen's eyes hardened. "Prayers don't replace love. And you taught me to sacrifice love for pride." Illyra's voice rose. "I made you successful." Kellen stepped closer, voice low and dangerous. "No, I made myself successful. And I destroyed the best thing I ever had because I confused your approval with purpose." Illyra's eyes flashed. "So you came to blame me?" "I came to take responsibility," Kellen said. "And to tell you something you need to hear." He held her gaze. "If you ever speak about Amari like she is beneath you again, you will lose me completely." Illyra's mouth fell open. "You would choose her over me?" Kellen's voice was steady. "I'm choosing what is right over what is loud." He turned to leave. Illyra's voice cracked behind him. "She will ruin you." Kellen paused at the door. "No, mother. She was the only person who ever tried to save me." And he walked out, shaking, because standing up to the woman who raised you feels like tearing skin from bone. 2 days later, Amari's phone buzzed. "Kellen, I spoke to her. It was ugly. But I did it. I'm not proud of my past, Mari. I'm trying to become someone you don't have to fear." Amari stared at the message for a long time. Her heart whispered something dangerous. Maybe people can change. Maybe love can grow back where it was burned. But trust was a slow flower, and she wasn't sure she had the water for it. Still she typed back. "Amari, meet me tomorrow. Same cafe. 30 minutes. Kellen replied almost instantly. "Kellen, thank you." Amari set her phone down and exhaled. She didn't know it yet, but the tears were no longer just pain. They were the beginning of a different kind of forever. Amari arrived early again, mostly because she didn't want Kellen to see her nervousness. She ordered tea, sat by the window, and kept her face calm even as her thoughts moved too fast. When Kellen walked in, his eyes searched until they found her. He looked tired, but lighter, like the truth had taken a weight off his shoulders. He sat down carefully. 30 minutes, he said, respecting her boundary. Amari nodded. 30 minutes. He didn't speak first this time. He waited. That alone was different. Amari took a slow breath. "I've been thinking." Kellen's fingers tightened on the edge of the table. "Okay. I don't want the past," Amari said. "I don't want a recycled love with the same cracks." Kellen nodded. "You shouldn't." Amari's voice was steady. "But I also don't want to pretend what we had meant nothing. I fought too hard to survive it for it to be meaningless." Kellen's eyes glistened. "It meant everything." Amari looked at him. "Then prove you understand what you destroyed." Kellen swallowed. "Tell me how." Amari's lips trembled slightly before she controlled them. "Start by acknowledging something out loud, right here." Kellen leaned in. "Anything." Amari's voice dropped. "Say it." Kellen's eyes locked on hers. "I abandoned you." Amari flinched, but she held his gaze. "Again." "I abandoned you," Kellen repeated, voice breaking. "And it was cruel. And you didn't deserve it." Amari's throat burned. "And," Kellen's breath shook. "And the life I built afterward, it was empty without you. Not because I needed you to function. Because you were the only person who loved me without trying to own me." Tears finally slipped down Amari's cheeks. She didn't wipe them immediately this time. "I spent years thinking," she admitted, "that if someone could leave me that easily, I must not have been enough." Kellen's face twisted in pain. "Amari, no." She held up a hand. "Let me finish." She swallowed. "I rebuilt myself. I learned to stand without you. And I'm proud of that. But it doesn't mean I stopped loving who I thought you were." Kellen's voice was a whisper. "I'm sorry." Amari nodded slowly. "I know." A silence stretched between them, gentle and aching. Then Kellen said, "I'm leaving in 10 days." Amari's heart tightened. "I know." Kellen's eyes were careful. "If you tell me to go and never contact you again, I will. But if there is even one small opening, I want to do something different." Amari's voice was quiet. "What?" Kellen reached into his bag and pulled out a folder, different from the medical one. He slid it across. Amari frowned and opened it. Inside were building sketches, clean, modern, beautiful. A community creative center. Studios. Workshops. Affordable workspaces. A place where young people could learn design, art, architecture, and business without being blocked by money. Amari looked up sharply. What is this? Kellen's eyes shone. My new firm's first project. It's called Forever House. Amari blinked. Why? Kellen swallowed. Because I kept thinking about you in that tiny apartment, designing dreams for other people. And I realized the world is full of amorous, talented, unseen, almost crushed by circumstances. Amari's hands shook slightly as she turned pages. Kellen continued, voice thick. I want you to lead the creative direction. Paid. Equal partnership. Not as a favor. As respect. Amari stared at him. You're offering me work. I'm offering you purpose with me, Kellen said. Only if you want it. Only if you trust it. Amari's eyes filled again. Is this your way of buying forgiveness? Kellen shook his head fast. No. Forgiveness isn't for sale. This is me trying to build something that doesn't require sacrificing love to succeed. Amari's lips parted, stunned. Kellen's voice lowered. And if you say no, I will still build it. I will still fund it. I will still make it real. Because it's right. Amari closed the folder slowly. She could hear Sepha's voice in her head from days ago. Don't let him rewrite the ending without your permission. Amari wiped her tears, breathing carefully. If I say yes, it doesn't mean we're back together. Kellen nodded immediately. I understand. It doesn't mean I trust you, she added. I understand. It doesn't mean I'll ever wear that ring again, she said, voice trembling. Kellen's eyes softened. I understand. Amari leaned forward. So what do you want then? Kellen's voice was barely above a whisper. A chance to become safe. Amari stared at him, really stared, past the suit, past the regret, past the boy she once loved, into the man trying to face what he'd done. She stood up. Kellen rose too, nervous. Amari. She took the folder and held it to her chest. I'll think about the partnership. Kellen's breath released like prayer. Thank you. Amari hesitated, then said the sentence that shocked even her. And maybe, I'll think about us. But not the old US. Kellen's eyes filled. Then what? Amari's voice was quiet and firm. A new story. If it happens slowly. With truth. With respect. No disappearing. No silence. No mothers controlling choices. If you can't do that, don't start. Kellen nodded, tears slipping now. I can do that. Amari took a step closer, close enough to feel the warmth of him without touching. Kellen, I loved you in a way that nearly killed my pride. Don't make me regret surviving. Kellen's voice broke. I won't. For the first time in years, Amari believed him. Not fully, not blindly, but enough to breathe without pain. 10 days later, at the airport, Amari stood beside him. Not as his girlfriend. Not as his fiancée. As herself, whole-heeled, cautious, and brave. Kellen looked at her with a softness that didn't demand anything. You don't have to come, he said. Amari's lips curved. I know. Kellen reached into his pocket and brought out the promise ring again. He didn't offer it like a claim. He simply held it. Amari looked at it, then at him. Keep it, she said. Kellen nodded, tucking it away. Okay. They stood in silence for a moment, the kind that felt like peace instead of punishment. Then Amari said, When you land, call me. Kellen's eyes widened. I will. And, Amari added, voice steady, if you ever feel like running again, don't. Kellen swallowed. I won't. He stepped forward, careful. Can I hug you? Amari paused, then nodded once. Kellen wrapped his arms around her gently, like she was something sacred he wasn't allowed to break again. Amari closed her eyes, breathing him in, not as the past, but as the possibility of something earned. When they pulled apart, Kellen whispered, From tears. Amari finished, voice soft. To forever. He smiled through tears. Forever this time. And as he walked toward the gate, Amari didn't feel abandoned. She felt chosen by herself first. Because love wasn't just about coming back. It was about coming back different. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from.